Okay, everybody, and welcome back. Hopefully you came here after the battle report because there are going to be a few spoilers about that in here, and if you haven't, feel free to go watch it, or if you don't care, you can just stay. That's cool, too. We're going to be reviewing the Space Marine Codex now. So, Dill, what do you think of it?
It's really good.
And there you have it. Thanks for watching. All right. We're just messing around. Okay. But anyways, so like I said, we did play a game with the Codex. We're not really going to go over the rules and the strategies and stuff because there's a lot of people that have already done that. We're going to give our kind of impressions of how it feels. How does the Codex feel, and what does this mean for the game, and what are our feelings about that? So, Dill, since you were the person that you piloted the Nova Marines here in the game, how do you think they felt compared to pre this Codex?
I think
first Codex.
I think the biggest difference is that this Codex just gives you a lot more options. In that there's more relics, there's more stratagems, there's successor chapters where you can basically mix and match what you want to do to create your own chapter. And all of the new chapter tactics kind of give you another rule that stacks on top of the rule they had in the previous edition. So with all those things, I think, and all the new units and some of the changes to the units, it makes a lot of things more viable. And like I said, in the battle report, there's just a lot of ways to play your Space Marine army now, especially a Primaris-based Space Marine army. Even though I still think Primaris armies are best castling up, especially with some of the other chapter tactics, maybe like Imperial Fists, Salamanders, Raven Guard, pretty much anything. I think there's just a lot of options how you can play your Space Marines. You can play combat focus, you can play a mid-range game, you can play a sit back and shoot, or you can play all three combined, which I think is really cool. And I think most of the units, honestly, point for point, there's some units that are just way better than others, but I think all the units that I used in the game, which is a varying amount, most of the Dark Imperium stuff and Redemptors, I think there's just a lot of viability from all of those units, and I honestly had no complaints with any of them. The doctrines boost those things a lot.
Yeah, definitely.
There's a lot of cool stratagems that you can use that are relatively cheap. Obviously, there's a few really strong ones that are expensive, as they should be. But I think there's just a lot of stratagems that reward a player for playing an army a certain way. So, like, for instance, with my Dreadnoughts, there's that stratagem Duty Eternal, which halves the damage of them. Obviously, it's only for Dreadnoughts.
Used every turn. Literally every turn.
No, it halves the damage on a Dreadnought when you shoot at it. So why not use it if it's only one command point? And you can use it, it lasts for the phase, you can use it in the combat phase too.
Exactly. Which, it's always very exciting. I think that this is kind of because as a Gene Stealer Cult player, and Izzy's an Orc player, we both got our codexes relatively late in the game. I literally got mine. Mine was the last to be released. That wasn't a re-release.
As it should be.
And I did think that, I actually did enjoy it, because Cult I did think was a really refined codex. And it is a codex that did have a lot, a lot of different builds you could go for, which is very good, because we do want to see a lot of different variety. Obviously, some stuff's stronger than others, but, just because you take one thing doesn't mean that it will be totally obsolete. Maybe for some of the units, but there's always something to give you that little boost there. With orcs too, definitely, because orcs are just super, super deadly.
I think one thing we really don't want, and I think that they changed with this. Obviously, I'm only one game in, so it's hard for me to say very accurately. But I don't think there's many things in here that are auto takes, especially at a casual level of gaming. There's not a chapter tactic or some relics. Some relics are kind of very situational, but in traits. But I don't think in the last edition with the the last edition of the Codex with the relic banner that popped off on 3s.
Definitely.
It's now to 4s, but it extends the range. Which I think that brings it down to a tier where with the other relics where it's okay, maybe that's not the best, because literally every Primaris player would use it.
Yeah, I would use it. I'd use it. There was just
and I would use it too. It's why not? But I think that's what I really enjoy about this, and that's one thing I really enjoy about playing Orcs, because all the tactics are very fun to use.
Yes, that's definitely something that they did get in here, especially if you're a successor.
Oh yeah,
there's a lot to mix and match, and
it's so fun.
We did do a successor game, and that is something that I think we'd all like to see for all the other armies.
Yes,
I wouldn't mind if NID's got a biomorph adaptation chart where it's you get these two things, build your own, maybe supplements for each of the big armies, which I don't know if they will, because they're
That'd be crazy for
they're not as glorious as Marines. I would just be happy with like the supplement thing. I don't know if they'll do it, but it would definitely be cool because it does seem like a lot of fun.
I think the only 1-to-1 comparison I see of that is Chaos Space Marines. If they don't want to do a full codex for Emperor's Children, World Eaters, I could definitely see a supplement for that.
Yeah.
And I'd say if we were to go for a Reach, at the very least, I think Imperial Guard should get their own successor version.
Okay.
Basically regiment creation.
Okay.
But I think at Reach could be a supplement for the big ones because I think there are a lot of Talarn players, Catachan players, like those. But I don't think they would go that far. I just think they would create their own tables and then give the regiments more rules.
Right.
But yeah, I really hope, like Nikko said, the successor thing sets a precedent for the new codexes.
Yeah, because another thing that I was going to talk about was that how I was going to kind of save this for later, but it's just how this is basically pushing us into this codex is so good, it's not really meant to balance with the current codexes in the game. It's really more of to push the game into another direction. I don't want to say addition because it is still 8th at its core, but they're just some of these rules are just pushing what the Marines can do, and I actually think that it's kind of worrisome for me. I don't want to go on too much about this right now, but
wait, you think it's worrisome?
It's worrisome to me because I don't like the idea of just constantly updating armies over and over again in a cycle.
But that's what they've always done.
It's what they've always done, but I mean, and the codex creep is definitely there, but I don't know. I wish that what they would do is just balance it so that the game was good, and then changed, or all the codex were relatively balanced among each other instead of just constantly continuing the codex creep, which is what I thought they'd do with 8th edition. But it's going to continue. Can't really complain because it is at least fun for the new Marine players, but I feel like we will eventually reach that point where everything is just so deadly in the game. It's like, this game's dumb. I don't know. Kind of how we were in 7th edition. Because in 7th edition, I feel like that's kind of how people were at the end. Invisible Wraith Knights and 3 Riptides. This is just ridiculous. And obviously that's not going to matter if you're playing with people you like. It's you won't have to deal with that as much. But I feel like that's just kind of where they're pushing it, just towards the absolute ridiculously.
But I don't know. I feel like in the game we just played, spoiler alert if you watched it, or if you didn't and you don't care, Izzy didn't bring a super optimized list, and to be fair, I didn't either.
Right.
But we both pretty much nuked each other off the board, and both of us made mistakes too. So I think a lot more damage could have been done. So to say, there's definitely a power creep, but I don't think the style of the game really changed that much with this codex. I could see that maybe when the new codexes come out, but I feel I don't know, in a game where you do your whole army in one turn, it's always going to be super definitely. Swingy.
But at the same time, you also fought an army where the extra AP and stuff doesn't help as much. Mm-hmm. It's definitely there for sure. And again, you also weren't Ultramarines, so you didn't get the aggressors moving and shooting as if you stood still.
I would never do it.
Because there's not too many. You are literally Ultramarines, so I'm sorry to tell you. But like I was saying, you also fought an army that wasn't as hampered by the extra AP as most armies were. If I was a Chaos player, I'd be very frustrated probably about that. But yeah, I can see what you're saying, but I just think that this is a strong book.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And it also sets precedences that haven't yet been introduced to the game that other armies are going to want to have, like the doctrines, which is, I love it. It's really good. I think it's too much as of right now, but if it means everybody else gets something similar to incentivize taking a pure list, because you only get it if it's a pure list. You don't even get to take assassins. And keep the doctrines, which is cool. I like that. I very much enjoy that, and I think all armies should have something like that. I think that is going to be something that all armies are probably going to get later on.
Are you saying just something very similar to doctrines, or just an extra layer of rules if you take a pure list?
Yeah, basically that.
Okay.
Because the doctrines are they're stellar, and if every army gets something that's as stellar as doctrines for being a pure army, because people were saying that you don't have to nerf soup. What you have to do is you have to incentivize taking a pure list over a soup list. It had the incentivization. I don't know if that's the word.
Yeah.
Is it has to be just as strong, if not stronger, than taking allies that can plug the gaps in your army.
Well, I'd be interested to see, like,
That's
in
what I'm
the coming months, as this codex kind of gets, people like learn how to play with it.
Right.
If people find combinations that are easy to do and are better, ally combinations that are better than having doctrines, and if people can like justify still using allies. I hope not, because I want more pure lists.
Yeah.
But I'm just interested to see if people like, okay, hey, if you plug in this army with your Space Marines, like, it's okay not to have the doctrines. But from my point of view, I want pure lists. I don't really like...
Well, we're probably going to have to wait for the supplements to come out, because right now the big one is... the big killer right now is Ultramarines, definitely. Because of that, the whole... If you're in the tactical doctrine, everything in your army counts as having stood still. So you're shooting twice with aggressors, you're shooting twice with just regular bolt rifles and regular bolters at your maximum range. Even if you move, you're ignoring the penalties to moving and hitting. I believe that's how it works. If I'm wrong, feel free to tell me, but I believe that's how it works, right?
Yeah.
Like, you count as having stood still, and it does apply to your whole army, right? It's not just your infantry.
Well, we can check really quick. But
okay, for sure.
It's pretty interesting, but like, honestly, I was looking through the White Scar supplement my friend had, and it's kind of insane how much extra rules you get.
Yeah.
That's like
I haven't looked through any of the supplements either. I just know that Ultramarines is killer right now.
Yeah, I read the White Scars one, and you get... he had 17 more stratagems that are White Scar specific, 12 more relics, a psychic table. I'm not sure. I can't remember if they have different tactical objectives. I wouldn't be surprised if they did. But the fact that they just get so much more, you already are looking at like 20 plus stratagems in the normal book.
Yeah.
And then you get 17 more in your supplement.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Which is good, because I was saying that I think that the original founding legions should have some cool stuff, because those aren't available to successors, right? Like, you cannot use Ultramarines stuff unless you're Ultramarines. Obviously,
no, you
if you're obviously like by name, like if you're just playing with your friends, you can just do whatever you want. But officially, you can't.
Yeah. Officially,
successors can't.
A successor chapter isn't technically an Ultramarine chapter.
Okay.
The correct way to do it is to say you are a successor chapter. You choose the successor trait that's like inheritor of the Primarch,
right,
which basically says you are so close to your chapter, you basically fight like them, so you take their chapter tactics.
Yeah.
But since you're not keyword Ultramarines,
right,
you aren't in the Ultramarine supplement. But obviously, a lot of us, we might eventually do it just to play the game like that, because we could run these guys as Ultramarines, because it's not too crazy to say that they play so similarly to them. And obviously, a lot of people are going to do that. I've seen battle reports where people are already doing that with the White Scars, so... Like, it doesn't really matter.
It doesn't really matter, but I mean, I think it is cool, and it is a little nod to the legions. So while Dill's looking up how the Ultramarines thing works, for sure, easy. You're the person who played the Marines. You play as orcs. You don't have a Marine army. You're working on one.
Yeah. No.
That is Blood Angels, so you're not going to get any of the cool stuff yet, but I think Blood Angels will come around. So why don't you... What were your thoughts on playing the Marines?
They feel a lot more... as they said, tactical and flexible, right? Like, as you start the game, you start. What's the first thing that you do usually in big games, right? You take your big guns and you shoot them at what you need to kill. Then, as the turns go on, what happens? Your troops are in range, your rapid fire and assault weapons start getting in range. So then you switch up to the tactical doctrine, and then you get that one. And then at the end of the game, as you saw, right, most of his stuff was in combat or about to be in combat, so then you switch to the assault doctrine. I feel like the doctrines really envelop how you play the game, and you can progress with them as the game progresses. And I think reading when to progress the game is going to be very important for Marine players moving forward. But I like that this codex encourages, once you shift up, you can't shift back.
Yeah, that's cool.
So once you push up the board, right, you got to keep pushing. Their only direction is forward. So it doesn't incentivize just sitting. I mean, obviously, you could take Devastator Doctrine, just sit in your corner and shoot all day.
Yeah, and keep it the rest of the game.
Yeah.
But then you're not fully maximizing each benefit, right? Like each, for example, Intercessor has 2 attacks base, 3 with Shock Assault, right? That's the name?
Yes.
You're not getting the full benefit of 3 attacks at -1 hitting on 3s if you're not moving up. So
definitely.
And you know what? As he says that, it's pretty interesting. I think, like how they always have, Space Marines have always benefited newer players because they're very straightforward to play.
Yes.
And I think the interesting thing about doctrines is it kind of trains like a new player's mind to like play in a very straightforward way that's also tactical. It's like in your first turn, like Izzy said, you're doing this. In your second turn, you're doing this. So if you kind of follow those guidelines, which is kind of funny, you're following the guidelines of the Codex Astartes way of fighting, you're kind of learning to play the game.
I don't want this book anymore. I take back everything I said.
Well, this guy's going to get a salamander.
I don't want to follow the
Codex
Astartes.
Sit in his deployment zone all game. But really quick, the Ultramarines thing is actually still the same. The chapter tactic is still just add 1 leadership and then -1 to shooting.
But doctrines apply to everything, right?
Yeah.
Because the Ultramarines, their like special thing is that during the tactical doctrine, everything counts as if it had stood still.
Is that like a supplement thing? Does it say that in the supplement?
Pretty sure.
I'm pretty sure.
Because like I know people were freaking out about it, and I'm saying in my mind what I think it does. Because wait, dude. So everything gets doctrines, right?
Yeah.
So it should apply to vehicles.
Yeah.
In theory.
Because the doctrines are a part of they're basically a part of what's it called? I think they're part of Angels of Death.
So it would be correct in me saying that, like, if I have a Predator, let's say, that's Ultramarines, and I have the tactical doctrine up, and it counts as standing stationary, I will not suffer any minuses to hit with it, even if I moved, right?
No, but you're correct.
Okay.
But I'm asking you, is that rule? Where are you getting that rule?
It's in the Ultramarine supplement.
And is that just like a extra thing on their chapter tactic?
Yeah. It's not a chapter tactic. Yeah. You can explain it.
Every chapter has their own like special rule that affects one specific doctrine. So as you say,
it's a doctrine
one,
thing.
Right.
Gotcha.
It affects the
I didn't know
tactical
that.
doctrine.
It's like with White Scar.
The White Scar with the +1 damage.
When you're in an assault and you
dodge.
charge, which kind of sucks, you gotta be on turn. You gotta wait till turn 3. But you do get +1 damage if you charge, which is gnarly. Actually, like that's pretty good.
These guys just punching 2 damage.
Yeah. Oh god.
And it's kind of interesting too because the combat doctrines.
Hey, those are my guys.
It's kind of everything falls under Angels of Death, which is basically the keyword which gives your army the special abilities. So kind of like in the orcs, all their orc stuff, everything except Gretchen get the clan ability. But the interesting thing is with the Angels of Death is now you have 4 separate rules just for being a Space Marine player, where most other factions usually only have 2 rules, I think, because like orcs have DACA, and then their objective secured. And most armies just have their 1 rule and then their objective secured rule.
I think Nids have Shadow in the Warp and Synapse. I think that's it.
Yeah, so
and objective secured.
Yeah, so like Nico's saying, if they set this precedent and they keep going, and every faction kind of gets like a bonus to being a pure list that is similar to doctrines, not necessarily in the rules wise, but just like the concept of that.
Yeah.
That'll be interesting because I really like the idea of these special things for being a specific type of army.
Well, I think they have to.
Yeah.
I think they have to.
balance
I think they do really have to give this to like other lists. Like again, you going back to Nids because like I am a Nid player. Like maybe it's like your first thing is like get up there. You go faster. Then it's like you're in melee. You hit harder or whatever, and then like the last one is maybe something else. I don't know specifically, but I don't know. I think that like just because of how this book is, like everyone's going to be getting an upgrade.
But I think like I don't know if they should do like a doctrine thing for it.
I don't think it's going to be a similar thing to doctrines because again, Marines is very tactical. You're constantly pushing forward. I think it's not going to be doctrines. Doctrines is just an example. I think it's going to be more of like just a bonus.
Okay, but you're not saying you want something that's like in a turn you want this.
No.
Okay.
I just want something that can like match.
No, for sure. That's this is a very very similar to the way Sigmar is played, where you get bonuses for being totally. I don't know what's the word they use for that, but basically just no allies.
Monofaction.
Right. There we go.
Like, what do you think what do you think they should do for like, kind of, like, do you think that other armies should get things similar to doctrines?
I think at this point they have to, just because it would feel like, imagine I'm playing, like as we just did, right? I'm playing orcs, he's playing Marines, right?
Right.
And he's getting all these new cool toys to play with, and he's switching doctrines, and he's changing the way he plays. And I'm just sitting there with my static rules, just doing the same stuff over and over. I'm going to be incentivized to build my army a certain way to take care of these static benefits that never change, whereas he's going to be incentivized to constantly change and adapt to the situation.
Right.
So for me, it's not going to be as fun. So I think they have to build something like this. It doesn't have to be exactly doctrines, the AP-1, as you guys said, no. But it could be like doctrines, what they remind me of is orders in the guard, right? They're buffs you issue, and then they're based on the situation. I think a lot more armies, we're going to be, I hope what we do is we move away from auras on commanders, and we go more towards things you actually have to plan and say like, okay, now I want to activate this one. Like now what they did with chaplains. Chaplains now, they don't just give the rerolls, right? They have to roll for the prayer, and you have to pick which prayer you want, which ones you have before the game, kind of like a psychic spell.
Right.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Which is interesting. Yeah, I could totally see that.
It's just like everybody hated playing against Gilliman, right? When he was just giving the rerolls, but now that, like, for example, when you play the guard, right? They go, okay, this squad gets first rank, second rank. This squad gets to reroll ones to hit, whatever, right?
But that's like a guard thing, though.
But that,
what I'm saying is,
but that is like that's a guard thing. But so doctrines now are a Space Marine thing.
No, I agree. I agree they're a Space Marine thing. But the thing is that they got doctrines added on in addition to all their other rules.
I agree, but what I'm saying,
what I'm trying to say.
But what I think like Izzy is also trying to say, and correct me if I'm wrong, like orders are that layer of very unique that changes the way the army plays.
Yes.
It's like no other army functions in that way. So like if they update guard, they could add another layer.
Yeah,
does something very
similar. That's basically what I'm saying.
And it's pretty interesting, like one that I could think of off the top of my head of orcs. It is still kind of similar to doctrines, but kind of the way like orc armies are together. You kind of have like these different groups within an army, especially when they introduce speed freaks. Like for instance, you could activate a thing and these units get a bonus. So like the speed freaks units get a bonus for a turn, and then maybe like because especially with all those detachments, the vigilance detachments, that's kind of a similar thing too, where those guys are getting a certain amount of rules. Right, but that's I don't know. The more I think about it, there's a lot of stuff that's just very similar to 7th edition.
Yeah,
that they're adding in. And I just hope they don't add too much rules. Yeah. But I think one of the big things about 7th edition was there was a lot of very minuscule rules that they added. So it's just hard to keep up with everything.
Yeah, I feel.
And the ally matrix was just insane. So.
Yeah, I totally agree. But I mean, my point here is basically I'm just saying that. My argument is that this codex was not meant to be balanced with.
Oh, definitely not.
With the current round of codexes, as well as orcs could hang with them, because they definitely could because of how hard orcs hit. Shock attack gun whiffed a little bit in the game. There was some shooting whiffs on the first turn. If that thing went off and like he fired it twice, killed 2 dreadnoughts, it would have been a much uglier story. But that's just how dice games go. Definitely. What I'm trying to say is I just think that we're like it's setting, like I said, a new precedent. It's not like these Marines are not meant to be perfectly balanced against like this current edition Tyranids.
Do you feel like Games Workshop has a responsibility to make everything balanced? Because I don't think there's an argument that I don't think.
Well, I mean, for the game, it would be nice. But
is Warhammer inherently like supposed to be a balanced game?
No, it's not.
I don't know. Like it was kind of.
But they were getting close.
True.
The thing is that they were getting pretty close. Obviously, the balance wasn't there in the Marines' favor, and now they've kind of put it back.
Yeah.
But I think that they. I don't want to say gave them too much because I enjoy all of this. Again, I play Salamanders and I think it's great. I think it's great that Marines are deadly again. Mm-hmm. I think it's good that when Marines show up, it's like, oh god, like the Marines are here. Because before it was like, Marines. Like,
the Marines feel
win.
Like Marines, especially Primaris Marines. They feel like it's kind of weird because when you read the books and stuff, you always imagine what a Marine would be to be what like a Primaris Marine is.
Yeah, exactly.
But now the Primaris Marines are always like kind of what movie Marines were in your mind. So they're really fun.
But now the thing is though, in response to that, now other armies are not starting to feel like they are. Like again with Tyranids, when the Tyranid Codex first came out, and like a lot of the armies were in Index, it's like, oh, the Great Devourer, like this Codex is pretty good. It's got a lot of tools, it's a lot of fun, and it's got some hard hitting units. But as that power creep keeps going, it's like, oh, good NIDS. This Great Devourer, that's like a galaxy-spanning threat. Easy
but I feel
win.
like every time we play each other and you play Tyranids, it's always still a close. I think. Obviously, we're not talking at like a competitive, like a high competitive level. Yeah, but I think from a casual point of view, excluding Space Marines right now, before the game was actually pretty even for most armies. You could do any matchup, and the game's pretty fun.
Even at tournaments, you have a lot of armies.
And I think even with the new Space Marines, especially as time goes on, obviously my opinion could change. But like, these were 2 pretty casual lists we played. But I think if we both tooled up our list, I think the game would still be pretty close. A lot can happen in one turn. If I whiff one turn, and then he punches me in the mouth really hard,
Yeah.
a lot can change. So I just think, we all have to like go into it with like a really open mind. And honestly, my opinion is I don't think Games Workshop values total balance as much as
I don't think so.
as much as their fans,
because they want to sell their books, but that's just the one thing that like I was not a fan of, because we waited, because again I played Geeks Called, my codex came out last, so I waited essentially since I think it came out in 2017. I waited 2 years to get my codex. It came out and it was a good codex for sure. It was a good book and it was a lot of fun. But now that everything else is getting buffed, I'm just going to be stuck in that cycle of everything getting perpetually more stronger, and then I'm going to have to wait for my codex to come out again. Or maybe I'll just be stuck in a rut. Which, that's just how it goes. It's fine. Again, Cult's really good, so I don't know if they can hang with Marines right now with some of the strats that Marines have. But that's just how it is. But I just wish that Games Workshop had, I wish that they made this codex to balance with the current list of codexes. But just because they're not, to me it's proof that more stuff is coming for those armies. Like the rumors about Eldar. This is kind of gone off from a codex review, kind of more of a discussion, I guess, about codexes. And
I don't know. I want to agree, but it's just like I don't mind that Space Marines are now better, and they kind of
I don't mind that they're better
mess with
either.
the balance.
But I'm saying that I don't want to buy more books.
No, but you have to wait 2 years. So if you have to wait another,
I have to wait 2 years. No, but I'm saying that then I'm going to be stuck in Index for another 2 years.
But you're not stuck in Index.
I'm not stuck in Index for sure, but I'm just saying.
I don't know. I think some armies should be. Oh, sorry about that. But I think some armies, there's just. I don't think the game has to be like, it's never going to be fully balanced. I know that, and I don't expect it to ever be. But I think Space Marines. There's some armies that are just like easy to play, and I think some armies are harder to play, but they're more rewarding. And I don't think Games Workshop necessarily goes into it where it's like every army like needs to be balanced. And I think like there's this weird expectation from a lot of the people where like, I don't know, you read all the stuff online, who knows like how people actually play for the most part.
Yeah.
I think people don't really care that much. They just want new models, they want new rules, and that could be anything. And obviously everyone's going to have their opinion, but when your stuff gets updated, you're always excited for it.
Yeah, of course.
And I think
definitely.
I don't know. I think like playing Genestealer cool because Nikko plays them very smartly. It's very rewarding when he wins, and they're a very strong army. But I feel like if someone wields them the way they play a Space Marine army, thinking it's going to be straightforward, you're not going to get the same thing. But I think there's a lot of things Genestealer cool armies can do that Space Marine armies can't do.
I don't want this to go into a Genestealer cult rant, because Marines now have a lot of tools to take on the cult, for sure. But the problem is that even if you do make those super good plays, it's still not going to be. This is kind of a whole different thing, so I'm not going to go on. I don't want to really go into it, but I'm just trying to say that if you were to take those two armies, it's kind of like high tier and low tier, right? Mm-hmm. Someone has to work like this hard to get the win, but then the higher tier army has to work like even lower.
But do you think Games Workshop has a responsibility to make everything the same tier?
No, it's not. It's never going to happen. Yeah. But what I'm saying is that I wish that they didn't release another round of books.
What would you prefer?
I would have preferred that they released this book, and then they would have made stuff. This book would have been fine, I think, if they made stuff more expensive, so that they could take less stuff and the other armies could still hang a little bit. Mm-hmm. But then the other armies' books were released, that's when their points start decreasing, so that they can at least balance with the rules. Mm. Alright, sorry about that, everyone. Camera cut off there for a bit, and we were getting a little ranty, so maybe it's for the better, because we weren't really talking about the Marine Codex, we were really more talking about how GW releases stuff, and I'm not going to get into it. I was going on for a little bit. Sorry about that, everybody. So
I wanted to get into it.
Let's get back. We can get into it eventually. We'll start a new rant show. If you guys want a rant show, me and Dill, feel free to let me know, because I love ranting. I do it on my normal channel.
Topics that trigger us.
Yeah, classic. Okay, but anyways, so we'll stay away from how this codex balances with the other codexes for a little bit. Why don't we go into the things that we like best about this codex? Do you think we've covered that topic? What's your favorite thing about this codex? Why don't you let us know?
Me?
Yeah.
Okay. I think hands down, easy. Always been my favorite thing about 40K. is the successor chapter tactics.
Okay.
Just the idea of customizing your force to the exact way that you want to play them, even though you're only picking 2 rules, that completely changes the way your army plays.
Definitely.
And like I've said before, I hope this sets a precedent for at least Imperial Guard. If no one else gets it, I don't care. I'll be selfish. I just want the Imperial Guard to get it so badly.
Guard's good enough.
Because they used to have that.
Guard's good enough.
They had that in, like, I can't remember what edition exactly, but I think it was like 3 codexes ago. You got to choose 2 things, and you could play them however you wanted. And it was just so awesome.
I think my niche should get that too.
Yeah, no, I hope everyone gets it. But if GW's just says only one can get it, I hope it's the Imperial Guard.
Well, it's interesting. It's interesting that you picked 2, right? Because I feel like lately, as the later codexes came out, it was like a lot of people were getting 2 chapter tactics.
Yeah.
Like orcs specifically. Don't even get me started on Death Skulls.
Oh yeah, that's so true.
Reroll 1 hit, 1 damage, get a 6+ invuln. And then all you guys are objective secured, and then like cult comes out and it's like you ignore penalty for moving and shooting heavy weapons, and also all you guys have a 6+ invuln and like stuff like that, which is cool. So it's cool to see them get stuff. Now, funnily enough, your favorite thing is successors. My favorite thing is the little note that says that successors are not the original legions.
What a legion!
No.
What a legion fan!
All I'm saying is that the original 20 Space Marine legions.
Yeah, this guy's still salty about Islam.
Don't say that word in my presence. I know I'm not over that.
Oh man.
But I think it's cool that the original chapters are getting supplements and getting love. I know a lot of people probably aren't going to care and they're just going to do whatever they want anyways. But I think it's at least nice of GW to nod that the original 20 legions. Well, no, those are traitors, so we got 10 of us here, right? But the original legions, like, they're just straight badasses. This is where all other Space Marines draw their lineage from. They fought in the Horus Heresy. They had varying degrees of success in the 31st millennium. But yeah, I do enjoy that. I do like that. And I do like that if you're a successor chapter and you do want to take your parent chapter's tactic, you have to take that. You can't just say, oh, I'm a Nova Marine and I want to be an Imperial Fist today, so I'm going to be Imperial Fist. I think that's cool. What about you, Z?
That's interesting because we all picked something different. I'm going to pick something different too. My favorite thing, as I mentioned earlier, was the doctrines.
Yeah.
And I like how once you shift, you're done, right? You can't go back. I mean, there's a stratagem to go back once, but it's one-time use only. And normally you're going to, once you push forward, you're not going to want to push back anyways.
Right.
So, and I really like how it's, as Dill said, for new players, right? Because new players, what are the first army they're going to look at, right? They're going to look at the Space Marines. They're going to be like, oh, the big power armor dudes, right? And what's the doctrine going to encourage them to do? As the game progresses, move up and play the different phases of the game and then fully explore it. So
I mean, situational. I'm just going to put on the Devastator Doctrine, and it's never changing.
Oh my god.
That's all I'm going to play Salamanders. I'm just kidding. Okay, so what else do we have got? New units? You get rid of new units?
We haven't used any of the new units.
I don't like the war suit. I don't like the lore behind the war suit, but I mean, it's
I'll just get one and cover it up. I kind of want to convert him where he's like stepping out of it and shooting.
So
his
it's just a normal.
pistol out of it.
So it's just a normal dreadnought.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
But
that would be funny.
I think another one of my favorite things is just definitely the new units. I'm really excited for the last Fusel Eliminators.
Yeah, those will be cool.
I just love the Phobos, even though I don't have them yet. They just look really cool. I always love new stuff because the models GW makes are just insane compared to any other company, really.
Oh, definitely.
But I think other than that, the points decreases are nice. I think one thing I wish that they would have done, and I think it's kind of just the way they're leaning towards creating units now. It's like they only want you to build options which can be like out of the box for the most part. They kind of pushed out of that with letting intercessor sergeants take thunder hammers now, because the other things they can't take technically because there are sets that include like a power fist or something. But I wish like Primaris captains could take a thunder hammer or could take a lightning bolt. Because I missed that Space Marine commander box that was very customizable from like 2 editions ago. If you notice a trend, I love customizing everything. I want everything to be unique to my own army because if I'm going to spend all this time on it, I want my army to be mine. And I think that's the coolest thing about playing another person, especially for the first time, is seeing what they did. What they did to their army to make it yours.
I totally feel that.
It's
funny because I was going to actually ask what is your least favorite thing about the Codex, and would you say it was that?
Yeah, I mean, it's not even like a bad thing because they.
Yeah, but
I just wish they went to another.
We all have
level.
we all have our gripes.
I wish
It's
they
okay
went to
gripe.
another level with it, and I can't say it's like bad because they'll probably do it in the future. I want everything to like everything that's like small, like Tactical Marines, Assault Squads, Devastators, to get like a 1-to-1 comparison in Primaris size, just because I like the models so much.
Mm-hmm.
Because Technically Intercessors are Tactical Marines, but at the same time they're not, because you can't take the special weapons.
Tactical.
You can't take the heavy weapons, so it is a little different. But it's Primaris, and they always talk about it in their podcast, the 40K one, that they've toyed with what version of armor they're going to release next, and there's more versions of this, they've said. So they're going to release more models.
Okay.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
they said because
It's a lot of data sheets.
in Dark Imperium, they were debating whether should we do the Phobos guys first or should we do like the Battle Line guys first. I'm pretty sure. I remember one of the lead designers was talking about that. So to guess or even remember what they said, that they're gonna have more armor isn't like that crazy. I don't think.
Okay.
So yeah, what about you guys? What's your least
Yeah,
favorite?
what's your least favorite part? We'll go on yours.
My least favorite?
Mine's a little. No. Mine is not a real complaint.
The Invictus.
I'm
Warsuit.
insane, just so you know. So
My least favorite, honestly, if I had to, one thing I've always disliked about Marines in 8th edition
The
is how
Salamander
cheap
chapter.
how cheap they are. And it's weird because like when you read the lore, right? Space Marine is like a huge deal. It's not supposed to be common. There's supposed to be like 10 guardsmen, 20 guardsmen for like one Space Marine, right?
Yeah.
And then you go to tabletop, an orc boy is 7 points and a tactical marine is 13. So there's not even 2 boys per Space Marine. And then when you read the lore and then you play the tabletop, you're like, well, I want them to feel like they are in the stories, but I can't because then they'd be too cheap, they'd be everywhere, they'd be way too good.
Mm-hmm.
So I wish what they did is they increased the points and then made the rules way better. Kind of like how Custodies are, how they're really expensive, but each guy is really worth it.
Yeah.
See, it's funny that you mentioned that because when I heard these new rules that came out, I thought I didn't think, like I didn't believe they were going to do it, but I hoped in the back of my mind that that's what they were going to do. I was like, these Marines are so like deadly in shooting and they can get so much done that they're going to increase the points, so you got to take less of them. They're going to be a more elite army, but they're going to be hardier and more killier, and like it should balance out a little bit. Obviously that didn't happen, but it's funny you say that because
Because
that's what I was thinking.
I think I mentioned this to Nikko too. Like, and what Izzy says is what I agree with. I feel like, like I said before, Primaris are what I thought normal Marines were before.
Right.
But like when I think of how Space Marine armies like fight in like real life, like in the lore, it's like how a Custodies army fights because there's not many of them. They rarely deploy in full strength.
Exactly.
And when they do fight, it's usually just a few of them going to a certain point, destroying, that's choke point, destroying the warlord of the enemy force.
Exactly.
But it's kind of hard because I think too, there's just so many new units. It's like I don't think they want to make them more expensive because they want everyone to play with their
I
toys.
feel that, and I guess it kind of fits in the kind of like the 2,000 point game scenario because it is a relatively small force, like a small elite force comparatively compared to like Apocalypse, let's say, force of Marines going up against maybe like a horde of bugs or something, but not quite that Apocalypse level.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is what we could realistically expect a force of Marines going into a place to look like.
Yeah.
Yeah,
because like 40K is always like kind of especially at 2,000 point level, it's always like a snapshot of a bigger battle.
Exactly. That's always how I like to imagine it. It's like this battlefield here. There's a bunch of stuff going around everywhere else.
This is just like one sector.
This is what we're focusing on right here.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. The Codex is really good.
Yeah.
It's
Now,
least favorite.
my least favorite.
Your least favorite.
Besides the warsuit.
Oh, dude, such a
Okay. Listen, I don't like the warsuit, and I'm just gonna say it. And the reason I don't like it is because to me it doesn't make sense. Not that it's like, oh, it doesn't fit 40K or anything like that. It's totally 40K. What I don't like is that it's like, why are we still, like, why do dreadnoughts even exist if we can just put a live guy inside?
Yeah.
That's just me. Like
It's not the scout part that upsets you.
No.
It's the
No.
live guy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because he's alive. It's
the
like
idea
a dreadnought is supposed to be a dead guy.
It's
keeps going.
A sarcophagus fortress. Basically.
Exactly. But
Because
then they can just, why don't they just make this suit with the same armor and not put a sarcophagus in it?
Put a live guy.
That's what was cool to it for me. But now it's like, it's just a giant robot suit.
Well,
Yeah.
I think okay, from a lore perspective, in 40K, it's all about like the STCs, like what they can actually make, because like a lot of things that they can make are only things they've discovered from the past, or what Call has created. So I don't know, this is just very deep lore stuff. I don't think Call could create an STC version putting a live guy in a Redemptor, even though, like, when you think about it, I don't think it'd be that hard.
I mean,
I don't know, that's just how it is.
But that's the thing.
I don't
It's
get
like,
it.
he clearly can with this new warsuit.
Hold on, that's a good question. Because you know how they put the dead person in the sarcophagus, they put the sarcophagus in the machine that's the Dreadnought, right?
Yeah.
What if you just took a live person and, like, hacked them and then put them in the
That's what he's saying.
sarcophagus?
Oh, like killed him to make it?
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, we don't even need to hack him. Like,
no, we don't have to do that.
just put him in the suit. Because with the warsuit coming out, that's the question it raises.
Yeah, that's true.
But that's about it. Another thing I don't like is I don't like the Raven Guard chapter tactic. Not because I think it's good, because I think it encourages more sitting back and shooting than
This guy who
No,
said
because-
Salamander
no.
Castle?
Yeah, that's
Oh
what I'm not
God.
saying it's a bad style of play. What I'm saying is that Raven Guard to me have always been like ambush from the shadows.
That's
right?
fair, yeah.
Yeah.
But this is like, I'd take this.
This is more like-
so I can sit back in my castle.
Yeah. Raven Guard's always been strike and
Exactly, like
jump.
jump in and get in close and strike from the shadows. This is minor. The Raven Guard rule's great. I actually think it's better than the previous one, personally.
Yeah, because they just added more rules. It's so good.
But that's just me. Those are just minor complaints. I really have no complaints with the book. I think it's a great book. I'm glad Marines are strong again. It's probably gonna be one of the last things we say. But before we go, I think we have to discuss the drop pods.
Oh my god.
That's right.
You know what this reminds me
We
of?
haven't talked about the drop pods.
We didn't talk
Okay,
about
so
drop
LVO 2018, there's this booth that sells like used models
Yes.
or old boxes, that they got not technically used but new, but they got and are selling them. I'm not joking. There is a box of drop pods built, some painted, some just primed, some just not primed. I think there was 12 of them in there.
12 drop
just
pods.
stacked on each other. And everyone was like, who's going to buy that? They're $20 each. Like, an hour later, I come back, buy something. The guy's like, people are talking, yeah, one guy just came in and bought all the drop pods. So now, when I saw that, the first thing I thought about is like, wow, that guy must be really happy.
Definitely, unless he used them as bases for like a night or something.
For like a Istvan
Yeah.
table. Oh, sorry.
No, yeah. Why you gotta keep bringing that up?
Fine.
Why you gotta
Because
keep
I'm
bringing
starting
that
my
up?
Emperor's Children.
I don't talk about how you have the wrong Nova Marine color scheme.
All right. Well, thanks for watching the video, guys.
All right, what do you think about drop pods? You gotta talk about the drop
Oh yeah,
pods.
the drop pods. That's the start.
This is a big thing.
Honestly, weren't people like talking about? I feel like I've been in a conversation where people are like, I hope they do this to drop pods, allow them to come into
Yes,
one. Yeah,
definitely.
so I like it. I think it's cool.
I think it's good too,
But-
but I think also they should at least be a little more expensive.
You think?
I don't, because they're what? How many punches are there? 60?
Well, I could check because we have the codex.
65?
But
I mean, I agree. I think it's cool, but I think
there's 63.
I think the one thing I would change is I wouldn't make the doors the model, so they don't
Oh, that's
just
some,
have a
that's
huge,
some BS.
just
That's
have
some
a
BS.
huge footprint.
That's really gamey.
Yeah,
I don't like that.
and it's like, and also, I don't know. I like drop pods. I'm glad they're back.
I think the
I'm
one
glad people are gonna take
I think the
them.
one saving grace for them
Yeah.
is that you can't put Primaris stuff in there yet.
Yes.
I mean, putting Devastators in there seems to be the big, punch you right in the face first turn thing.
Yeah.
So at least you can't take Primaris stuff and get more tactical advantage because that was a big thing about drop pod assault. It's like turn one, everything's in your face. You're just getting blasted off the table.
Yeah.
So I kind of like how Deep Strike's turn two because it kind of gives you a different playstyle in turn one. The game is very different, but at least that's kind of cool. Like Space Marines can do this because they have a drop pod.
Yeah, I think though that the drop pod should be something that you do if it is going to be something as powerful as coming in on turn one. I think it should be. I think you should pay for that ability to bypass because that's strong.
Mm-hmm.
That's real strong. It's like
Especially make it more expensive.
yeah, exactly. When the war suits come out too, the ones that I really don't like, it's like I got first turn, war suits move up, drop pods drop down. I'm in your face messing you up.
Yep.
And yeah, but other than that, I'm glad they're back. Because again, I think it incentivizes Little Marines again.
Yep.
Stern Guard are back, Devastators are back. What do you think about this whole drop pod shenanigans?
Honestly, I'm against it. I'm against it because
okay.
I remember
that's a
we
hot
used to
take.
have
That's a hot take. I like it.
Deep Strikers could come in on turn one, and then we
Yes.
realized too quickly everybody would just Deep Strike turn one, assault or
Game
shoot,
over.
whatever, and then just wipe out a big portion of your army, and you couldn't do anything because either you got turn 1 and they weren't on the table, or they just dropped down because they got turn 1 and then you didn't get to do anything anyways.
Mm-hmm.
And now I think with drop pods deep striking, because the big thing with deep striking is that you can't be shot, you can't be targeted, right? So there's nothing your opponent can do about it other than scream. So turn 1,
Which turn
before
one
you
you
can do
really can't
anything.
do.
Exactly.
Especially if you're shooting.
This
Sorry.
drop pod just comes down, right, with these devastators or whatever, with flamers, right? You could take the chapter tactic for plus 3 inches. So now they can not only deep strike turn 1, which nobody else can do, and we've set the precedent. We don't want this happening. Because remember, Dark Reapers used to be able to deep strike at the end of turn 1.
Yes.
But what people would do is just deep strike from their deployment zone and then shoot you, and then you couldn't do anything.
Exactly.
So now they can do this thing that we said we don't want people doing, and they can also flamer from deep strike range, which is something we specifically made flamer range 8 inches and deep strike 9 inches for. So now they can do these two things nobody else is supposed to do at the same time.
But then what's a drop pod for then? Now,
Well, drop pod is for deep strike.
but everyone can deep strike. Everyone. No, what I'm saying is like I agree that turn 1 deep strike is really strong, and I didn't like it in general, but that's why people stopped taking drop pods, because like now they don't do anything because everyone could deep strike. Everyone has stuff that can deep strike, and deep strike is so it wasn't
Common?
unreliable anymore because you used to have to roll for it, and now you just put them where you want. And the only thing that made drop pods literally did nothing at like if they come in turn 2. Without this change, they don't do anything extra.
Well, they still allow units that didn't have deep strike, like Devastators and Stern Guard veterans, to deep strike.
True,
Which
but
is what
I think,
they've always done.
but you wouldn't if you deep strike them turn 2. You're not gonna put the Devastator in the drop pod to deep strike turn 2.
That's a good point.
That's true.
So, I agree with you. It's really strong, and I don't like. As cool as it is to have a drop pod assault turn 1 and just like nuke your opponent, it's like so swingy in turn 1 because if you do it and do that to your opponent, you feel bad. But if you whiff and then you just get punched in the face, it kind of feels bad for you. But I also don't see like another way to make drop pods just like takeable.
Well, see, but the thing is that actually, I honestly think with some of the, like how some of the weapons are now, I think they would be takeable. Like the grav, that one
In turn 2?
that one grav,
You do it in turn
yeah,
2?
that one grav strat is like ridiculous.
Yeah, I'm interested. to
Drop
see.
down and you just fire grav, any true roll wounds and damage, and anything with a 3-up save it's D3, like, and you can reroll the damage there. It's basically destroyers.
Mhm.
So just that coming down turn 1 is already really good. Another thing with deep strike that's really good is if it's a unit that doesn't rely on charging.
Yeah.
Because then you just get free shooting. Because grav is
Yeah.
24 inches, which isn't a lot, but when you can come up anywhere on the board.
Yeah.
It's
You're
like-
protected turn 1.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I get that.
And we were talking precedent, like how this resets the precedent. Those are two things that really stuck out to me, is that they can have flamers that deep strike, and they can hit at outside deep strike range.
Yeah, but that's so specific. That's only
But
one.
That's a
That
big
is-
deal.
That is one successor chapter, that's true.
But that's still a big deal, because that's something they specifically tailored every other army in the game up until now to not do.
But there are
Yeah.
flamers that are more than 8 inches.
I agree.
But they don't do strike.
I agree that the flamers. Well, I agree with how powerful it is. I don't think flamers are as much of a problem because it's like if you're playing, then it's like, all right, you're gonna hit my screen with the flamers. Like even if you do deep strike, it's still only 11 inches, so you're not gonna be getting that much farther. But I mean, I agree. It is very strong. I think any unit that comes down shooting comes down to shoot specifically is already very strong because they don't have to worry about the 9-inch charge, which like charging units have to do.
But I don't think, like, I agree it sets a precedent, but I don't think it sets a precedent for army lists. I just think it sets a drop pod precedent.
Yeah, definitely.
So,
Like I said, I think it would be better if they were more expensive. I
Yeah,
would
I agree.
I would honestly like double the points of them.
damn.
Because like
120?
because then it's like you have that powerful unit, but at least you're sacrificing some
You're paying 120
some
points?
firepower somewhere else. It's 120 points for a unit that basically will get free shooting because nothing can target them. There's no threat to them.
Yeah, but
And they
that...
can hit real hard, and you can put them. You can drop them next to captains and stuff, so you can get all those rerolls.
I don't know if I agree with that, because, like, even with that stuff, you can still whiff pretty hard. And especially if
You can still whip hard, but the thing is that there's no risk to you.
Yeah, because you can because if you whiff hard and you're
but that's not a risk.
I mean, every unit has the capability of whiffing.
Exactly,
so it's
every
not
unit has the
really an argument
capability
against that.
of whiffing. Like, what I'm saying is that nothing bad will happen to this unit. At least Devastators, you put them in the bag and cover, as invincible as they might seem. At least like you can try to shoot them off the board first turn.
Mm-hmm.
With this drop pod, like they're protected, they're safe.
Yeah.
Maybe not double, maybe like 100, 110. But like I just think it needs to be more points because it's such a strong ability to have, in my opinion.
I don't know.
Because like no, I want to see drop pods back. Like they're definitely sick. Like they're cool. They are like they were a kind of like an iconic Marine unit that we just don't see anymore because Primaris has taken over. But I don't know. I just think like it's like Easy said. Like all armies have been like designed not to come in turn one. Then this comes in turn one and it's still 60 points.
Yeah, but also I think you're only protecting yourself turn one if you go second. If you go first, you're not protected.
Yeah, but if you go first, then you still
guaranteed.
You still get guaranteed. You're still guaranteed alpha strike, no matter what with them.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't mind it.
And I think Anson's got some drop pods. We'll let him use them against you.
Yeah. I don't know, because I just feel like deep striking a lot of times, like as strong as it is, it's like it can be a trap.
Because remember when 8th edition first came out, and I put the Swarm Lord into Tyrannocyte. I just ran him up like first turn, or I dropped like 20 Gene Steals next to him and they moved up first turn. It's like that, but it's worse because it's with shooting.
Yeah.
Because that's just me. I do think it's very strong. I do like it. That's for sure. I'm more glad that it's in than it's out. I just think it needs to be just a tiny bit so it's just a little more fair. But that's just me. What would your solution be? Just take it out?
It's tough because like I think the drop pod, like the Tactical Marine, is one of those units that over time we've given the benefits it gets to so many other things. It's been overridden.
Right.
Like so many things now have deep strike that why would you ever take a drop pod, right? All the things that want to deep strike like Assault Marines or Vanguard Vets or most of the things already have deep strike and can already do it. So then the drop pod kind of becomes, well, why am I taking this, right?
Right. Because before a drop pod was, the whole thing with a drop pod was you couldn't, it was harder to do than mishap. Right. That's why the drop pod was so special.
That's true. Huh?
Like, which was cool, which was good, definitely. But I think this ability to come in first turn is definitely way more powerful.
It is powerful.
Yeah, it's strong. It's strong. And I mean, I'm sure it's only a matter of time before we start seeing drop pod assault armies just drop down turn one and all of a sudden half your units are gone.
Yeah, but that means you're still taking Little Marines, and it's Primaris only now, baby.
No.
Little Marines are done.
No, not
if you don't get the Primaris.
Not with this drop pod thing, they're back.
Yeah.
I just don't want the game to like escalate to the point where it's like turn one, I do all these crazy combos, and then you're like 2/3 of your army are gone. You just don't even get to play. That's what I'm worried about. Like this codex.
Yeah.
I don't think it's gonna be like that though.
I mean, the game can.
I don't think it's like that right now.
The game can be like that.
But I think, like for example, a lot of the later codexes and the chapter proved how scoring is at the end of the turn. So then the second player has a lot more advantages. I think we've been moving in a good direction, and then I see something like this, and I get a little worried the other way.
Yeah, that's another thing. That was something that I was thinking too, was that this army, right, this Marine army, because they didn't get too much more durability other than Raven Guard and Salamanders, but they got way deadlier when it comes to shooting. So I was thinking that we were doing such a good job at incentivizing going second over first. And like having rules to where like at least people would get to play the game a little bit, but then like when all this firepower drops, like it's straight killer on the first turn. And it's like Marines are going to be one of those armies that you don't ever want to go second against, otherwise you're gonna be fighting an uphill battle.
Yeah,
those are just my thoughts though, with some of the deadlier combinations out there. But
yeah, that's fair.
That's just me. But yeah, you guys got anything left to say on the Ringcast? Any thoughts? Get them out now, because I think we're nearing the end. We've been going for a while.
Yeah.
We've been going for a while.
Yeah.
But yes, any thoughts? Any other thoughts left?
I really like Shock Assault. I've been saying for a long time, the best buff you can do to Marines is they always had combat knives, so just give them +1 attack, right? That makes sense. Shock Assault came out, I was right. So
Okay, Dollar and the Easy was right, Char. Dill?
I think I said everything I wanted to say. I just hope Imperial Guard get custom regiment creation. That's all I care about.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
I have a lot that I want to say. I'm not going to say it in this video because it'd be 6 hours long. Just me complaining about stuff because, you know, that's what I like to do. I like to complain. But yeah, overall, Marine Codex, 2 thumbs up, definitely. I don't think there's anything we ever not give 2 thumbs up. We gave 2 thumbs up to contrast paints. We gave it to Apocalypse, yeah. But, you know, it's a good release. It's a good release. It's going to keep the game fresh, and and Marine players are going to rejoice, and they're going to have a lot more fun at the table with their Marine armies. And yeah, and I'm very excited once again for the Salamander supplement. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Hopefully I get rewarded for playing my little green boys.
What do you want to play against?
Play against the Salamanders?
Yeah, what do you want me to play against?
I don't know, what do you want to use? What's a bad matchup? We're trying to find bad matchups in the for Marines in these battle reports.
Yeah,
like I
no
think
idea.
Imperial Knights would be an awful matchup, so maybe we shouldn't do that because I don't have enough blast cannons.
Depending on how long it takes, I wouldn't be mad about doing Chaos Space Marines with my Knight, but I just feel like if you went first and just nuke me off the table with all the heavy weapons.
Yeah,
But, you know,
We
with a
can-
Knight, though, you'd be like, oh, maybe I have to shoot the Knight, though.
I'm not gonna shoot the Knight.
Well, he's going to shoot the Knight, hopefully. It's Emperor's Children, man. Revenge on Istvan.
I'll shoot everything else.
Oh,
That's why the Knight wasn't on this spawn. You guys were. I don't know. Maybe orcs
Yeah.
or Imperial.
If you guys, let us know if we play orcs too much. I don't think so.
We've been playing
But,
orcs
like,
a lot.
we just want to make sure like we don't play one army too much. Like I really do enjoy playing orcs. Izzy came on, he played orcs obviously, but my favorite, I don't know. Dude.
I'm starting Eldar, so we're gonna get a fresh new army in the house. So that'll be nice.
Is that going to be our next game?
It is gonna be our next game.
That's what I'd like to hear. So that'll probably be against.
Hopefully Garrett gets the Hemlock in Friday. Otherwise, it won't be our next game. But yeah, okay. So I think we didn't really cover a lot of the Marine stuff because other people have covered it.
We just ranted.
We just ranted and gave our thoughts. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that and stuck around. I think we're gonna wrap this video up. You guys have any last words you'd like to say to the camera? Easy.
Shock Assault.
You like Shock Assault? You?
I love Shock Assault too.
Okay, I think the Tactical War Suit is trash. So thank you for watching, everybody, and we'll catch you next time.
That was a good.
All right, hopefully that recorded.
I don't think it was recorded.
The Tactical War Suit.